Thanks so much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, so I wanted to say, like, congratulations, by the way, on not only, what you've been doing from kind of a personal perspective with like your family and, taking care of everything up in Michigan, but then also growing the business. I know, we got on the phone the other day and you said you hadn't been aware that some of these things were kind of happening, and it's kind of cool to kind of see them, pop out, but you've been seeing the results come from it, which is awesome. And I
Yeah,
think
definitely.
that's always like the nice thing is when you don't have to you have to really think about everything that's happening to you. So
Right. Yeah. It was a huge surprise.
yeah,
A great surprise.
it's always nice. It's nice, yeah. I really was so excited about seeing your numbers, and um,
Yeah.
the fact that you've been doing it on your own, the fact that you've been tweaking things here and there, not like not with fervor, but at the same time, little tweaks I think make a really big difference. And I don't think people can kind of connect those dots until they see the results, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah. For sure, because I have no time. um, and so like when I signed up for this do-it-yourself type SEO thing, I was like, I'm not gonna have any time to do this.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
like just here and there, I've kind of gone in and worked on it a little bit at a time, and I still don't even think I like am done or that I'm where I want to be. But just in doing that, it's made such a huge difference.
Well, let's talk really quick about how we met, because I think that's such a funny, interesting story too.
I was in like a commenting group on Facebook where like all the photographers would go to each other's websites whenever we'd post a blog post and just make comments, and it was like you had so much time to make a comment, and it had to be at least 10 words or something like that. So what you'd get on your website is all these comments that were like, wow, this is amazing,
Yeah,
you're such a great photographer, or just like these generic one sentence comments, and you'd have like 30 of them on one post and then none of them on the next post because you haven't done the thing yet. And I remember like getting a message from you asking me to take one of them down,
yeah,
and I was like, why?
right,
I
yeah.
thought this is supposed to help my SEO. And then you got back with me, and that's kind of how we met. And I've learned a lot since then about SEO.
Yeah, and so I think it's like it's kind of this kind of happenstance how we kind of connected. When I talk to people about the blogging, I say, you really need to do it with purpose, and you need to do it with kind of intent, but at the same time, you can't make it look. Google can kind of interpret, the way that these links are being built and understand. And so when we do our link building, one of the things that we do is we also try and remove links that maybe aren't doing as strong. And
Yeah.
when we went through and when we saw some of those, your blog, while it had power, that specific page wasn't doing us any justice. And it was actually diluting some of the powerful links that we were building for our client. Which, I'm going to be interviewing them coming up. Their name's Toy Box Studios, and they're, yeah. But when we look at doing that link building, sometimes it's about kind of stripping out some of those links that dilute it. And when you do that, you're able to put more focus on the powerful links that get your power up. And since then, I've noticed that your power has gone up a little bit, because I think you started doing some of those tweaks as well.
Yes.
Yeah. And your power ratio, and we'll talk about kind of the trust flow, citation flow numbers, has turned into, a stronger kind of ratio between the two. And thereby, I think your site has started to see kind of the natural results of just the power of your website. So, so that was kind of weird how we connected. And then on top of that, you sent me a reply back saying, well, why are you doing this? Right? Like, because I thought I was doing the right thing. Tell me why I was doing the wrong thing. And then that started a conversation on explaining what all of this meant. And through just probably about a 15-minute conversation, I think you started to understand the trust flow, citation flow dynamic. And I don't know when it happened, but a light bulb kind of clicked off, and you're like, well, tell me more. Let me try and do this. Is this something that I can do? And, I think you're in a very similar situation to a lot of our clients, especially because we have a history of working with clients that are entrepreneurs, that are in the photography business. Because my personal experience is I was a DJ for the wedding industry. So I knew a lot of wedding professionals, and photography does really well in the wedding business, right? Like, you make some really great money for, you know, kind of a consistent stream of income, and you get a lot of that life flexibility that I think so many of us are looking for. When we were able to go through and kind of explain all these processes, the fact that if someone like you, who can just on a very, even not even like on a high level, just on a very general level, understand kind of what we're doing, and then we can train you on how to use these tools, you can make a pretty big impact over kind of a short amount of time, relatively speaking, like a short amount of time. So what I wanted to do was jump into your tools and take a look at these numbers. But before we do that, can you give everyone kind of an understanding of, you know, a little shout out for your business and understanding of what you do, so they may be able to see if they can relate to this, and kind of where you're at as far as, you know, work-life balance, and then also the training that you go through.
Yeah, so I am a wedding photographer based in around the Detroit area in Michigan. I have been shooting weddings full-time for about 4 years, and have just done everything myself. I've learned how to do my website myself. I just didn't have a lot of money to invest in my business, so I just have, you know, made a lot of mistakes. But yeah, like, things are coming along. I work way more than I should. It's hard to find that balance. But like, I'm really grateful for all the cool resources and things that I found over the last 4 years to help me out. Because I know, like, in the beginning, I had no time. I was working like 24/7, like not sleeping at night, just working 7 days a week. And now it's gotten way better, and I actually have like days off, and I get to spend time with my family, and
That's
you know,
awesome.
do things that I want to do. So it's pretty good. I'm liking it right now.
So I think that's such an important, you know, kind of distinction that we all kind of come up against, is that, you know, being small business owners, we feel like it's going to be a break from the,
Mhm.
you know, the 9 to 5 kind of job. And what we don't expect is that when we become entrepreneurs, that all of a sudden, you know, we're kind of, it's kind of easy at a job, right? You don't have to think
Yeah.
about marketing. Maybe you don't have to think about sales. Maybe you don't have to think about customer service. Maybe you don't have to think about, you know, doing whatever service, you know, actually performing the service. So there's a lot of back end work that goes into us doing a lot of the mundane jobs that we don't really see. And then when we become entrepreneurs, it's like, oh, wow, I have to do all of those things. That's so
Right.
much different. The thing that gets me still to this day is taxes, right? Like I pay someone to do taxes, but at the same time, I remember the first time I sat down with my taxes and I was like, I'm never going to do this. This is just something I feel like I'm going to get in a lot of trouble. I feel like I'm going to do something wrong. But at the same time, I have to do it in order to get all of those other little, you know, perks along the way. And
Right.
so when we train and we work with clients that are like you, that are like, hey, I need to make money. I need to get traction. And that's kind of where you were at. It's like, I just need to get traction. I'm not booking
Yeah.
the events that I want. And they're not at the rate that I want. And,
Mhm.
you know, I'm getting leads, but they're not coming from any real marketing effort. It's more people who I know, or I happen to walk into somebody. And I think that, you know, we're all going to find that we've got that flexibility, especially as, you know, a photographer or a service like that. When I was, you know, was DJing, someone needs a DJ at some point, right? Someone's throwing a
Right.
party, someone's doing this, but they're never really willing to pay you what other professionals are making, because they feel like, well, I know you, so I'm going to get that friend discount or that family rate. So you're never making what you want. And they view you kind of as a friend with a benefit, right? And when we become professionals, when people come to us through specific marketing, they end up understanding, you know, I'm going to pay this person because I'm going to an actual legitimate business. And so with SEO, what we're trying to do is generate more leads for you through that kind of business model of, hey, this is really someone that does this as a profession, that does this, you know, as as a way to support their family. And so they deserve the money that they're behind because they're doing a lot of work and they've got all these systems. And I can go to their website, right? I can see everything that's happening on their website and the beauty of their images. So it gives them just kind of this personal satisfaction of knowing that you're doing a good job, and then you just kind of prove your worth. And so SEO, I think, is a way to generate those leads.
Yeah.
And, so we'll take a look at the SEO tools here. And what I want to do is I want to talk to you about what the tools mean to you, right? I'll kind of go through each one. And we'll take a look at some of the numbers, kind of what I see as, when I look at my clients, kind of what's the benefit of what I'm seeing there. But at the same time, I also want to let you kind of explain, how do you view them, right? And what do you use these tools for? And again, most people that are DIYers don't do this month in and month out. That's why it takes a little bit more time, right? You make a couple of tweaks, and then it can be as simple as, I don't know if it worked or not. I'm done. I got to go and get to other things, right? And then you come back and you see the results down the road, and you kind of get that little feeling of, whoa, did I change that? Did I do something that made this number work? And then did I actually influence that sale that happened? And we're going to talk about the sales that you've been able to receive since we started this. Okay, so let me share my screen with you and see if I can do this. How do you share your screen on here? How am I doing this? Share?
Just hit share.
Are you viewing my desktop right now?
Nope.
You're seeing yourself? Okay, I'm going to do desktop. Share that.
There it is.
I'm so new to this.
Got it.
Okay. Okay, great. All right, so let's take a look really quick at your account. And so what we've got is kind of a quick run through, or I'll give a quick run through of what we're actually seeing. And then I'll let you kind of talk into this. So over here on the left side, we've got your tools that are open to you, any tasks that you want to create. And since you're just doing the SEO side, there are a lot of more tools. There are a lot of tools that are included in this that you can sign up for. But with the SEO, this is what most of our clients go with. And we look at things like rankings, backlinks, competition, your site audit, your Google tools, the Search Console, plus your Google My Business. And then we even give you the option for your Bing tools, which honestly, we don't put a lot of attention on that for obvious reasons, right? But what we want to do is let's start with the backlinks. We're going to end up with your rankings. Let's look at your backlinks. And what I noticed when we started was that your numbers were a little bit off. And we talk about trust flow, citation flow. Your trust flow is the trustworthiness of the links that are coming into you from these other websites. And the citation flow is the volume of links. And these are on a scale of 0 to 100. We want this number to be as close to this number as possible so that the people that are linking into our website have more influence and more trust. And so these links become more powerful, right? Your link volume has gone up, and your follow link volume and your backlink volume. Can you kind of explain what this page means to you, if anything?
I don't really ever look at this page.
Oh, you don't? Okay. We're being straight. I dig this. This is what it's all about.
Oh my goodness. I know you went through it with me in the beginning, and I still have all that information, but I just have never had time to sit down and look at how it's changed since then. Okay,
cool. So this is and I'll go through this for the people that are watching the video. The great thing here is that a lot of the times, and I think this is important, is that you don't affect your links here. You just monitor your links.
Yeah.
And monitoring your links, I think, is where I ask most people to come in and just kind of track this, right? So when you look at the number of backlinks, you can actually see all of these backlinks that were here, over 5,000, and we've trimmed them down to 1,500 and actually got down to 1,300. So you built it up. But this trimming process, this was a big part of what we were talking about earlier on, getting links kind of dissolved. Did you move to a new platform?
No.
Yep. Been doing the same platform. And what platform are you on?
I use Flow Themes, which is a WordPress-based template website.
So I think, when you look at just kind of trimming down these links, again, going from 5,300 down to 1,800, it took a lot of the fat off of this. And that is why, when we take a look at this number increased, because I believe when I was looking at your numbers, this was around 4 or 5, and this one was around 18. And so you were almost just a little under a 1-to-4 ratio, and now you're a little under a 1-to-2 ratio, or a little under 1-to-2 ratio, which means that you're naturally going to look like your website's more trustworthy. Okay. And so whenever you can do that, that influences you. So it's not just about volume, it's about quality. So in this tool, if you ever want to go back and look at it, you can go in and you can take a look at the links that are in here, how many links you've got. You've got a ton of links coming from Melissa Klein, and her trust flow, citation flow has a huge important facet to you. You've also got Crayon, Sarah Stanley, Angela Lang, Woodsy Wonder Photography. So it looks like a lot of other businesses in the same industry are going to be kind of in your realm of linking back to you. And then you can see Flow Themes actually has 5 links coming to you, right? And so that's a huge impact right there. And so again, we're looking at that trust flow versus citation flow as, what that really matters to you as far as getting those quality in. And anytime you come over here and you see Alexa rank, this is kind of ranking of the websites and kind of their overall value. So you had SEO site checkup, that did one. That one's ranking really low. And in Alexa rank, the lower the number, the better, right? You have links coming from mywed.com. They're ranked, 35,000 range. I mean, that's amazing. So anytime you can get links from websites like that, you're going to do really well. So let's take a look. What is the main tool that you actually look on in here? You look at rankings, you look at links, you look at audit.
I do the site audit.
You do the site audit? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I was actually looking at your site audit, and I noticed that there was a jump here in April from 217 to 918 warnings, right? And so, warnings, what we want to do is we take a look at warnings. These are these yellow ones. And this is something I find a ton with photographers, is it's usually the alt attribute for images.
Right.
Okay? So what do you do? How do you use this tool?
So in April, I made like a bunch of changes to my website and didn't even bother worrying about the SEO, and that's why that happened. And ever since then, I've been kind of trying to work on it a little bit at a time. But when I did go in and I fixed all these. I went in and fixed all the problems. And
I saw your site audit actually had done really well. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and then that's when I noticed that I started getting a lot more inquiries from Google.
Was as soon as you did the site audit and the repair?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it probably took a few weeks before I saw any changes, but I thought, oh my gosh, just from adding all those alt tags and H1 headers that, for some reason, must have boosted my SEO.
So when you went through this, did you, so these site audits come through and you noticed that the issues right here probably had a direct impact. So they were much lower before. I completely agree. Have you noticed that in the past month, you've seen I've seen your rankings actually increase in the past month, but you might start to see the rankings start to dip a little bit more because of that. So you definitely want to stay on top of that. We want you to do that. But I love this simple tool. I'm going to show people if you don't mind. But if you go in here and we say, there's a broken external link, and so anything in red, we definitely want to fix those. We click on it, and it takes us to where the broken link is on your website. So you can see it's on, it looks like a blog here, Romantic Winter, Michigan Elopement, Briar Barnes, Grand Rapids, right? And this link should be going to Instagram, Color Defiance, but it's coming back as a 404. And so for people that don't know what that is, essentially that means that it's a page that doesn't exist, right? And so if we look at this page, So all we have to do is click on it. We go to this page, and then there's going to be some type of reference to Instagram on here. Let's see if I can.
Yeah, probably down at the bottom.
At the bottom? Okay. All right, so right here. And so it's not on every page, which makes me think that it is not going to be something in your footer, right? Because if there were a bunch of these broken,
Right.
then that's a good indicator that it's a footer. So it's probably somewhere in one of these.
Oh, I see right there. It's
Right.
hair and makeup was provided by the remarkable Jennifer Bartlett, and then in parentheses it says at Color Defiance.
At Color. Oh, right here. Okay. Oh, yeah. So it looks like if we clicked on that one, yeah, sorry, there you go. So this one's not available. So all you have to do is you have to go in there and fix that one little issue, and then that error goes away.
Yeah, it's so easy to do. It just takes time. And it doesn't take very much time at all, like just a couple seconds, really. These red things weren't here the last time I looked. So, but I've been really tweaking my website a lot lately. So,
and that's another natural thing. Yeah, I mean, when you have tweaks to your site and your new site audit comes out, always take a look at it, because you'll notice things that I think anytime you add a new page, anytime you add new content, this stuff can just change naturally. And so this one happens quite a bit too, because we notice people duplicate pages for blog posts, for service pages, and we're crawling, and we found 84 pages here. If we look at your page with duplicate meta descriptions, what that means is the titles are different, right? For photographers, book a mentoring session, connection, archives, but the meta descriptions, the descriptions that you find that show up in Google, are all the same. And so Google doesn't know. This becomes kind of a murkier area, because if the meta description is a summary of your page that Google puts up online, and I'll show people really quick what we're talking about here. If I'm going to Google photography, your meta description is right here. Okay, and the meta description is something that if it's the same on every page, so you can see right here, your Facebook has a meta description. You probably have other pages on Loom Photography that'll pop up, down the sheet here. But because it looks like all of your marketing, Facebook, social media, stuff like that's there. But if this is the same, then it becomes a little bit more confusing for Google on which page should rank higher, right? And so that's when it looks at things like, how many links are coming to a specific page, or what keywords are on a page. But this is an error from an SEO perspective. So going in and changing that is really just a matter of typing in something that you want to pop in on Google right here, and you can fix it. And once that's done, you're all set. And so again, time-wise, it does take a little bit of effort. But if you did that for an hour, you probably would have time left over with the 12 pages, because it's maybe 2 minutes of writing that description. And then the broken internal images, this is important too, because this is a link that returns something that is not really there, right? So again, if we go to your best of 2018, and then we're going to look for this WordPress content, Florida 4, it's going to come back.
I don't think that page is there, because I think I just deleted it.
The Loom Photography?
Yeah, like today.
So that might be the something that came back on. See, when we'll take a look at when this last audit was. So these are done. You have it set up on the monthly plan.
Yeah.
So if you just delete it, probably won't show up till the next one. But then if you delete it, then that'll go away naturally. Yeah. That'll go away. How to price yourself. So it looks like a blog.
That should be there still.
Okay. So and then we would look at this one, Elena John Wedding Loom Photography 430. Okay. So when we click on this one, there's going to be an image, and there'll probably be a bunch of images here. But the thing to know about WordPress is that each image is kind of hosted on its own URL, right? Has its own URL that's set up in there. And let's see if we can find it anywhere. Mhm. Sometimes it pops up as not there. I love that style shot. I do love that. Might be something right there. Use right there. Photography. Yeah, so there's an image on here that's not linking to the right one. So all you have to do, and if you have WordPress, this is actually very, very easy. What you do is you go in here and then you just search for whatever this says. That's all you have to do is search for whatever this says. And then when you search for it, you are all set. It looks like this image and this image are the same ones.
Yeah.
That are coming up incorrect. And you just put them over here. And this could be something as simple as the name wasn't changed after it was uploaded. But yeah, just take a look at that. It looks like these are the same image. So if you probably get rid of a couple of images here, looks like maybe a handful of images, Viking style, machine engagement, Kia, Alex Loom. Yeah, if you get rid of these, all of these errors go away. And so again, it's really just a matter of kind of cleaning up your image list. But again, that's really common with photographers. It's really, really common. This one is by far the one that I see is the biggest.
Yeah.
Because it's so cumbersome. Now, what I do tell people is that there is a tool on WordPress, like a plugin, a free one, that it will auto-generate alt text for you. And so it can do a lot of this work. I don't think it's perfect, but it does a lot of work in here where it adds alt text to it. But if you look at these images right here, these images do not have alt text attached to them, which is something that we want you to have, because this is how people who are blind, who actually understand what's going on in your image, right? So this is for people who can't see, and it is verbally explained. So they have tools on their computer that read the description that you put in there so that they understand what's happening inside the photo. So alt text is really just what's going on in the photo. And let me give you an example. In this photo, I would put in here, maybe put their names, but say, the groom is reading his vows to his bride in front of the bridal party. Something like that is just a simple alt text. Streaking lights, girls on the dance floor, girl with her purse on with a drink in the air, everyone's smiling, something like that. And you really don't have to make it complex. You don't, like I just did. It could just be, couple kissing. It could be, couple holding hands with, darker colors. It really doesn't matter what you say. It's just a matter of describing it. And once you do that, Google will then reference that. And it's not extremely impactful, but it's definitely, when you start getting onto page 1, which let's talk about that right now. It's the way to increase your ranking, because you've made a more highly refined website. So let's take a look at rankings really quick, because this is the one that I think is awesome. So with your rankings, what I did was we're showing your rankings going back from September when we first started all the way through today. And all of these colors up here represent the ranking of your keyword on a page, okay? And so red is anything from page 6 and beyond. So 1 through 10 is going to be page 1, 11 through 20, page 2, 20, and so on, page 3, page 4. So 51 is actually page 6. 1 through 3 is also something where you can rank inside the map. And so anything that we've got you ranking inside the map is going to be important. Now, these are only referencing rankings for terms that you put in here, right? So if you put your company name, you would more than likely rank number 1. So the idea, because you popped up number 1 when we searched for you up here, you would be number 1. But we don't really care about that, because if someone's typing your name in, they're probably going right to your website. Right. You want to type in what people are searching for, right? And so what we noticed is that right here, you have 2 terms on page 1. And tell me a little bit. So we have Michigan wedding photographer. And this is actually a really key target for you. You didn't want to do weddings in Detroit, but you wanted people searching from Detroit to find you. Can you tell me why you thought that?
Yeah, I don't like shooting in urban areas. All of my work is done like outside and like where there's trees and, you know, nature. And I just was finding that like all the websites and everything associated with Detroit wedding photographer are, you know, people think Detroit wedding photographer, they think Detroit, which
Right.
is, you know, buildings and city. And I also travel all over the world, and I don't charge anything extra to shoot anywhere in Michigan. So I think of Michigan as like my local area.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
so that's why I wanted Michigan wedding photographer to be, you know, the number one keyword, I guess, with Detroit wedding photographer being second, just because, you know,
Yeah.
that is kind of the location that I'm in.
And we've got Detroit wedding photographer down here that you're on page 2, so you're pretty close to getting that one ranked on your all
Yeah.
on your own up on page 1. It's trending down recently, but we can actually click into this and see kind of the way that it's gone. So you actually peaked at 14 and you were 18 and now we're up 16. So it says down 2, and that's down 2 from your high, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when we look at this trend, so you actually started at 14 as well, and it went down and then it came back up. So this might be a result of you fixing those
Mm-hmm.
errors on the site. So that's pretty odd that like it was here, but I think when we had you add the text that first month as well.
Yeah, I remember in the beginning, all the keywords on my website were Detroit wedding photographer.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I took them all out and
Yeah.
replaced them with Michigan wedding photographer.
So, well, and it's good to see that these numbers have come back, because you definitely don't want to lose anything. But
Yeah.
having them come back to 14 at one point, now we're at 16. So I think really building links where they say Detroit wedding photographer is a big way to get that. So if you get a website, or you do a guest blog post, or you know, you're having your imagery recognized, putting Detroit wedding photographer as the link that people click on will actually go, you know, far and away above what you were probably hoping for. It will push this up much higher, because
Oh yeah.
obviously if that link is going to your website, then Google knows that's what you're doing. So Michigan wedding photographer, this one was really important to you, and now you are on page 1. You have just recently gotten to page 1. I think when we first talked, this specific one was number 12. And when we go back, so we have them being tracked from 2 different locations, right? Or actually you have 3 different locations. And this one I think was ranking on 10. Yeah, so this one was 13 and now it's 10. So getting these on page 1 I think is just fantastic. Now you can also take a look at your SERP history and see exactly, you know, who you're competing with, which other websites are coming up. So Rosie and Sean, Detroit WP, I guess that's Detroit wedding photographer. And then you've got Wedding Wire, the Knot Photos, and then here you are right here. And what's amazing to me is to see, so here's your number right here, is that your total backlinks are 20, and you're beating these websites down here with 1,000 links, with 300 links, with 1,400 links, you know, and you're beating them all with just 20 links. I'm sorry, no, this one, 2,800 links. Oh, well, you're definitely going to be crushing those guys. Definitely crushing those guys. So having this volume, I think, has been a huge important factor. Now, what we want to do is we want to figure out why Rosie and Sean, Detroit, and Genevieve, or Geneva Simon, why these guys are ranking so much higher. And so we can do research into those as well if we add them to your competition, which I noticed you hadn't done yet. So yeah, I'm actually going to help you. I'm going to add these competitors in here. Cool. And we'll be able to kind of track their history, figure out what their power is. When you look at these numbers, you told me that you originally were not getting a lot of leads coming in from online, right?
True.
when you were not adding these, and so it's just as simple as that. So this one will pop up, and then once these index in about 5 minutes or so, we'll see that. You weren't getting a lot of leads, but now that your rankings have started to go up and you've started to see more green, you've been getting more bookings as well, starting in January. And I think that's where you had like the biggest jump right here. So can you tell me like the work that you've done? You've gotten leads just from Google, right? So let's talk about the leads that you've gotten just from Google. What have you seen?
Well, I used to basically get like about 1 or 2 leads a month from Google. You know, on my website contact form, it asks, you know, how did you find me?
Yeah.
And they would say like someone told them about me, or maybe Instagram. Sometimes I get Instagram leads. Just, it was kind of all over the place, but now it's like 9 out of 10 times it's a Google. They found me on Google.
That's amazing.
And I've been booking you know, I want to say 4 or 5 weddings a month that are Google weddings. Yeah.
And that's unbelievable. And when did that really start?
I want to say right around the beginning of the year.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. So, you know, what I like to help people kind of connect the dots on is that while your numbers are not number one, right? You're not, you know, number one on any page. But by pushing your numbers through a lot of different categories, right? Because at one time you were just trying to get Detroit wedding photographer.
Right.
And, you know, when we did our keyword research, and I came back and I said, well, look, here are actually a bunch of other terms that you should try for. And, you know, if you look at just adding these terms to your website, yeah, you'll rank for Detroit wedding photographer, but all these other terms you'll start ranking for as well.
Yeah.
And more about volume at that point. And, you know, anything that we search for is different from one person to the next, right? So these numbers are taken on a very neutral standpoint, right? But if other people are connected to you from a search history in any way, sometimes you'll float even higher. Sometimes they'll float higher because they live closer to where you live, whether they know it or not, right? And so these things tend to happen. Also, you have a nice GMB going where you've got a lot of links coming in through that as well. Are you finding you're getting clients in the areas that you were targeting?
Yeah, actually. I've booked weddings like up in the UP. I've booked weddings like up in northern Michigan, because I think I'm trying to use like Traverse City as kind of part of my home base, I guess.
That's the Upper Peninsula?
Yeah, Upper Peninsula, sorry.
Okay, sorry. I'm from Virginia, so I
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you're targeting different areas, and you're getting the business where you wanted it, and you're getting it almost primarily from Google. Okay, so here's the thing, right? Like if I book you know, one event at $10,000 and 10 events at $1,000, then I'm probably losing money doing those more events from all the effort that goes into it. You're booking more events, you're doing more of it. How many events did you do last year, by the way? Or booked last year?
I think I was at like 12.
Okay, I thought it was like 15, but you said 12. Okay, so so you booked 12. So since the beginning of the year, we're in, you know, month 5. It's May 2019, and so you're saying that right now you've booked closer to 15 to 20 already?
20.
That's unbelievable. That's fantastic. So you have almost doubled your booking volume from all of last year in less than half of the time that you had available to do it. That's unbelievable. So since you've done that, have you seen an increase in your booking rate? Are you staying the same rate, or are you going down at all to tempt more people to come in? Are you giving more discounts?
Do you mean like
what's your average event? Yeah, what's your average event going for, you know, last year versus this year?
Oh yeah, I have gone up. I was at like 2,900 last year, I think, and this year I start at 3,500.
You start at 3,500.
Yep.
That's unbelievable. So essentially, if you like, so I'm just going to do some basic numbers here. you've essentially added close to $30,000 in
Oh
revenue
yeah.
over
Yeah.
last year. That's
Yeah.
unbelievable. So that's really the proof's in the pudding at that point, right? I mean, you've gone, have you been doing a lot of other marketing efforts anywhere else? Have you seen your efforts come from, anything else?
No.
That's unbelievable. Okay, so I mean, this is just, I think, like such a crazy story, because again, when I look at, if I were to look at your numbers as an SEO expert, and if anybody has ever done SEO, they're probably looking at these numbers that we were just looking at, and they're like, "Whoa, those numbers aren't that." If you don't mind me saying it, those numbers
Right.
aren't like blowing me out of the water.
Right.
I could sell my services to you, and you could make more money. But the fact here is that you did this all on your own,
Yeah.
and the numbers where they're at have still achieved amazing results versus where you were year over year. And so your financial commitment wasn't crazy. I bet in even one sense, the fact that you're booking these events has also kind of led you to not be overwhelmed with taking on, more work, right? And the fact that all of a sudden, I mean, it's nice to do, to make a lot of money, but if you're working 60 events, 7 events a year, that's probably where most people don't want to be, right? They probably want to make more per wedding and fewer events. So, and I think that's kind of like your next kind of evolution is going to kind of a higher price point on average. Maybe you're staying the same at 3,500 to start, but you're adding different ways to make more money on average. But again, getting back to the point, like as an SEO person, I come and I'm like, well, I could get you higher, but like you're doing really well. You're doing really, really well. And you've done it all on your own. And so now you have more liquid capital, probably the stresses are lower financially, spending more time. So can you kind of talk to, as we're going to wrap this up, can you kind of talk to like how you've seen this effect with just very little effort from what you've kind of said, like, hey, I in our conversation before it was, hey, I did this and then I kind of left it alone. Do you feel like this would be worth it for most people?
Definitely. At first I was a little skeptical because I was like, well, for one thing, I'm like, I don't have the money to be putting into anything. Like, I just thought, I don't have an extra, amount of any amount to
I think we were talking about, it was like 500, 750, and 1,000 was what our packages were for SEO. And that's really per month. Right? That's just really intimidating for most people.
Yeah, and I thought, like there's so much stuff online that you can find about SEO that I got to be able to figure it out myself sometime. But then it went back to the fact that I have no time. And after talking to you like in depth about it, and then you showing me how this back end works on the like the site audit and everything, I was like, I'm gonna give it a try. And I remember you saying like you can just try it for a month or two and see, if you don't want to do it, then don't do it. So I tried it and I found out like, wow, this is actually really easy. And it's really, really kind of like exciting to see all the stuff going on the back end, and how I can just click on like where it says I have the issues, I can just click and it takes me right to where I need to be to fix it. It's amazing. Like I'd never be able to find that stuff on my own.
I know, it's like a needle in a haystack, and it's your own website, right? You're like, I've seen people go to these free site audits and they're like, you have, 300 errors, and you're like, great. And they're like, and that's it. That's all we're going to tell you. So, you have to get all this other stuff. So, I think the fact that we make it really easy. We like checking in with our clients as well. Have you felt like, the service we provided has been good for you?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
All right. Awesome. I just appreciate the fact that you've put in the, even from what you're saying, the effort that you have put in has been kind of
minimal.
Much as you feel like you've, well, I think you've done effort, right? And I think that the effort kind of connects with your life, right? Like, I used to do, before I had kids, I used to do P90X. They had this first edition, and I mean, these workouts were like an hour, 15 minutes long, and you have to do it for 90 days straight. And I remember I did it, but then when I had kids, I decided I wanted to work out, but I couldn't give that much time. Like, it was just impossible. So we ended up getting the P90X3, which was only 30 minutes long. And what's great is that, look, I was still only doing 30 minutes of work, but I was still getting results. It just matched where my life was at.
Yeah.
And so I think the do-it-yourself kind of approach matches certain people where they're at in their life. Maybe it matches their budget. Maybe it matches, the amount of effort they want. Maybe the amount of control that they want because they don't know what people are doing, to their site, and they feel lost, right? Like, this is, I think, such a great option for the vast majority of our clients. But what I definitely tell people is, give it time, right? If you can just invest a little bit of time and then let it sit, you will see these things work. And it feels like it's magic, right?
Yeah.
But because you struggle so long with these little, things here and there, but, you're just doing what the program wants you to do. And then you get the results. It's really great.
Yeah.
It's really great. Okay. Well, thank you again so much. So I'm going to post this on our YouTube channel. Like I said, you're the first one. I'm going to put a link to your website, so you get a free link from me, and I'll do like a blog post about it and everything as well. And if you want, you can write a blog. I know there's not a lot of time. If you write a blog and you get even more of those keywords, you can link them back to your website if you want to do that.
Cool.
Is there anything else you want to say before we get going?
I want to say thank you.
Wow. I didn't dare to say that. Well, all right. So we appreciate that so much. Thank you so much for everyone that's watching. And hopefully we're going to get, a lot of more of these success stories coming back. It does take time. So we've got people that have just started, so maybe talking them down the road. But again, Andrea, thank you so much. And Loop Photography, if you're in Michigan, check them out. Beautiful shots. Beautiful shots.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Bye.